Hi there, St Michael 71. Here's a first set of questions for you to get some clarification on the ideas and concepts that you put forward in your video, hopefully so that I can get a bit of a clearer understanding. You sent me a private email with some ideas in it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by making sure that we have a common understanding of those ideas that you sent to me. And the way that I'm going to do that is to feed back a summary of those ideas. And the reason I want to take that approach is that it shows that I've actually taken them on board and done some mental processing and actually understand them. And by feeding back just a summary of them rather than verbatim, you should be able to spot any kind of misunderstandings of the key concepts pretty quickly. So you describe science as being a mode of human reasoning that's based on demonstrative principles, of things that we can discover for ourselves. And I think if you just extend that out to include the requirement that that we have evidence or results that are consistent with the theory that's being offered as explanation, then we're on the same track for what science means. You described faith as being another equally valid mode of human reasoning, but this time based on the acceptance of authority. So that's believing something to be true because we're told that it's true. And in the case of religious faith, then the authority figure is God. So I think if that's what you're saying, then your understanding of faith and my understanding of faith is also pretty much consistent. You then go on to say that faith is based on the understanding of revelation from God. And what I don't understand about that is how does God make these revelations to people? And until I have a clearer understanding of that concept, I think I'm going to have difficulty in trying to compare faith-based reasoning with science-based reasoning. You've also said that faith is an intellectual assent to revelation from God. So am I right in assuming that in this context that the divine revelation, the revelation that comes from God, is the equivalent of your evidence for coming to a given conclusion? Is that what makes you believing something? Is that what justifies your belief in any faith-based assertion? One of the other things that you mentioned was this idea of prior natural reasoning and how this can be demonstrated. And I wasn't really familiar with the idea of natural reasoning, so I had to look it up. And what it seems to me is that the idea behind natural reasoning is this premise that we as human beings have some kind of inbuilt intellectual mechanism that's hardwired into our minds in some way that makes us believe certain things are true. And one of these things that we believe to be true just instinctively is the existence of God, or at least the belief in the supernatural. And the problem I have with this is that that this concept seems to be suggesting that natural reasoning is saying that people have this natural propensity to believe in the supernatural, and therefore, it's logical or common sense for them to believe in the supernatural, that this idea has inherent merit because of that belief. And the fact that people consequently do believe in the supernatural actually bears out the idea and provides a demonstration of natural reasoning. So, to me, all I see here is a circular argument. So if you can explain to me what's wrong with my interpretation, how I've oversimplified it or missed the point, what I've missed, I'd be quite interested in that, because at the moment I'm just baffled by it. I also got a bit lost when you started talking about faith being based on rational assumptions of prior evidence, because You gave an example that we can reasonably assume that other people have minds. And I can see how that works. You know, I can see how we would assume that other people have minds, and it's reasonable to assume that. And it's not because we have experienced those minds for ourselves or directly analysed them, but it's because we can see evidence for them. You know, we can see evidence in the way that people behave, that they have minds that seem to work in ways that are similar to our own mind, the only mind that we really ever know. The problem I have is that I would call that scientific deduction based on the evidence. I wouldn't call it faith. So, for that example, you know, what are you seeing as being the difference between your perception and mine? You know, how do you see it as faith and I see it as science? Or are you actually saying that my belief in scientific principle is itself a faith in science? You know, are you proposing that you know, that if, say for example, if we're talking about gravity, you know, we've got the observations that we can make of planetary motion. By the same token, we have miracles and prophecy as evidence of revelation from God, of religious faith. Now, I'm not trying to put any kind of words into your mouth here. What I'm trying to do is understand the ideas, because if you are saying that miracles and prophecy are what justifies this revelation from God, or what constitutes this revelation from God, then the next question that I'm going to ask straight away is, you know, where's the evidence for the miracles and the prophecy? You know, what independent, corroborating evidence do we have to show that the miracles or the prophecies are real rather than just hearsay or myth? And if we do have any kind of evidence for it, is this evidence, you know, of the divine revelation, is this held to the same standards of accountability and analysis as you would expect scientific evidence to be? And I know, you know, leaving aside the fact that you know, quite often scientific evidence can be a bit dodgy, in principle it's supposed to stand up to any kind of questioning. Now, is that the case for you know, for the revelation, for the miracles and the prophecy? And if not, why not? If it is, then, you know, how has it been verified? Where do we have the evidence for that? Can you refer me to any kind of documentation? I've got some more questions for you, but I think they're likely to change slightly in nature. Any more questions that I ask you are going to be based on assumptions that I have, and I didn't want to do that. I don't want to be, you know, setting up straw man arguments based on flawed conceptions. So I look forward to getting your answer to some of the questions that I've asked you here, and talk to you later.